Good evening, everyone. Let me start with a truth bomb. Happiness is not something you find. It's something you create. We all go through tough times. No one is immune. Maybe you've lost a job, had your heart broken, or feel like you're stuck in a rut so deep you can't see the light. And when life hits you hard, happiness feels like an impossible dream. Something for people who have it easier, who don't have your struggles. But that's a lie. Happiness is a choice, not a circumstance. It's not about what happens to you, but how you respond. This idea can feel difficult to accept, especially when life throws challenges, heartbreaks, or unexpected difficulties your way. When things go wrong, when people disappoint you, when the world feels unfair, it's easy to believe that happiness is something outside of your control, something that comes only when circumstances align in your favor. But the truth is, happiness isn't something you find, it's something you create. It's a decision made again and again, regardless of what's happening around you. Think about two people going through the same situation. Maybe they both lost their jobs. One spirals into despair, convinced that this is the end, that they are failures, that nothing good will come from it. First, the other, while still struggling, sees it as an opportunity to pivot, to explore something new, to grow. The difference isn't in their situation, but in how they choose to interpret it. Happiness, in its simplest form, is rooted in perspective. It's not about pretending everything is great when it's not. It's about choosing where to focus your energy and what meaning you give to your experiences. Many people believe that happiness is something that happens after. A reward for achieving a goal, finding the right partner, making enough money, or reaching a certain milestone. But that mindset creates a cycle of always waiting for happiness, always postponing it for a future moment that may never come. If happiness is conditional, if it only comes when things are perfect, then it will always feel just out of reach. The truth is, happiness is available now, even in the middle of difficulty. It is found in small moments, in gratitude, in the way you choose to interpret and respond to life's challenges. One of the most powerful realizations is that while you can't always control what happens to you, you can control how you react. Life is unpredictable. People will let you down, things will go wrong, unexpected problems will arise. But between what happens to you and how you feel about it, there is a space. That space is where you make a choice. Do you let it define you? Do you let it steal your peace? Or do you decide to rise above it? Choice is where your power lies. It's easy to believe that people who are happy simply have better lives. But if you look closely, you'll see that many of the happiest people aren't the ones with perfect circumstances. They're the ones who have learned to manage their minds, to reframe difficulties, and to find light even in dark moments. They understand that happiness isn't about waiting for life to get easier. It's about becoming stronger, more resilient, and more intentional about what you focus on. Imagine two people stuck in traffic. One is furious, honking, stressed out, and angry at the world. The other takes a deep breath, listens to their favorite song, and enjoys a moment of stillness. The traffic is the same. The difference is in the response. This is a small example, but it applies to everything. Life will always have traffic, unexpected delays, problems, and disappointments. The question is, how do you respond? Do you let it control you? Or do you take control of your own experience? Choosing happiness doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending everything is okay when it's not. It doesn't mean avoiding difficult emotions or suppressing sadness. It simply means refusing to let those emotions be the only thing you see. It means allowing yourself to feel the hard moments, but also making space for joy, gratitude, and hope. Even in difficult times, there is always something to appreciate. Some small moment of beauty, some lesson to be learned, some piece of goodness that can be found. The key is in training your mind to see it. Our thoughts shape our reality. If you constantly tell yourself that you can't be happy because of your circumstances, then that will be your truth. But if you decide that happiness is something you have control over, something that exists in the way you think, the way you respond, and the meaning you give to your experiences, then no external event can take it away from you. This isn't about toxic positivity or forcing yourself to be cheerful all the time. It's about recognizing that even in pain, there can be growth. Even in struggle, there can be meaning. Even in difficulty, you can still choose to find moments of light. One of the most powerful tools for shifting your mindset is gratitude. When you focus on what's missing, what's wrong, and what you wish were different, you create stress, frustration, and unhappiness. But when you focus on what's good, even the small things, you shift your energy. Anjari. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means choosing to also see what's working. It means appreciating the sunrise, the people who support you, the lessons you've learned, the simple joys of everyday life. When you train your mind to seek out the good, happiness becomes a natural byproduct. Another key to choosing happiness is letting go of the need for control. So much unhappiness comes from trying to force life to go a certain way, from resisting change, from holding on to expectations that aren't being met. But happiness is found in adaptability, in learning to flow with life instead of against it. When you let go of what you can't control and focus on what you can, your attitude, your perspective, your choices, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. Happiness is also deeply connected to how you treat yourself, the way you speak to yourself, the thoughts you allow to dominate your mind, the beliefs you hold about your worth. These all shape your experience. If you constantly tell yourself that you're not enough, that you'll never be happy, that life is unfair, then that will be the world you live in. But if you choose to speak to yourself with kindness, to remind yourself that you are capable, that you are resilient, that you can handle whatever comes your way, then you create a foundation for happiness that isn't dependent on anything external. At the end of the day, happiness is a decision. It's a daily practice, a mindset, a choice you make over and over again. It doesn't mean you'll never have hard days or moments of doubt. It doesn't mean you'll always feel joyful. But it does mean that you take responsibility for your own emotional state, that you refuse to let circumstances dictate your inner peace. Life will never be perfect. There will always be challenges. But happiness isn't about avoiding hardship. It's about deciding that even in the midst of it, you will still choose to see the good. And when you make that choice, over and over again, happiness becomes not just something you feel, but something you are. It's something you are. Overthinking is one of the biggest barriers to progress in happiness. It keeps people stuck, trapped in a cycle of self-doubt, hesitation, and fear. The mind replays the same thoughts over and over, analyzing every possibility, every potential mistake, and every reason something might go wrong. While thinking things through can be useful, excessive overthinking leads to paralysis. The longer you stay in your head, the harder it becomes to take action. The truth is, no amount of thinking will give you the perfect answer. No amount of analyzing will eliminate uncertainty. The only way to break free from the grip of overthinking is to act. Action beats overthinking every single time. When you take action, you shift your energy from dwelling on possibilities to creating real movement. It doesn't have to be a big step. Even the smallest action can interrupt the cycle of hesitation and get you unstuck. If you're waiting to feel completely confident before you start something, you'll be waiting forever. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from action. It comes from action. The moment you do something, no matter how small, you start to build momentum. And momentum is what creates change. When you sit in indecision, your brain magnifies problems. A task that might take 10 minutes suddenly feels overwhelming. Overwhelming. A conversation you need to have turns into an impossible confrontation in your mind. The longer you think about something without acting, the bigger and scarier it seems. But the second you take action, reality replaces fear. You realize that making progress isn't as hard as your mind made it seem. You start to trust yourself more. You begin to see that forward motion, even if imperfect, is always better than standing still. Many people believe they need to have everything figured out before they can start. They think they need the perfect plan, the perfect timing, and the perfect conditions. But perfection is a trap. There will never be a perfect moment. There will never be absolute certainty. The only way to gain clarity is to start moving. Action brings information. It shows you what works, what doesn't, and what needs adjusting. It turns vague ideas into tangible reality. The people who succeed in any area of life aren't the ones who never feel fear or doubt. They're the ones who feel it and act anyway. Think about the times in your life when you finally made a decision or took a step forward. The moment you moved, even if it wasn't perfect, something shifted. Something shifted. You stopped feeling stuck. You realized that taking action wasn't as scary as you thought. And even if things didn't go exactly as planned, you learned something valuable. Growth doesn't come from endless thinking. It comes from doing. It comes from doing. Every great achievement, every major success, every transformation started with a single step. Taking action doesn't mean making huge leaps overnight. It's about taking the next step, no matter how small. If you want to get in shape, but feel overwhelmed, don't think about an entire workout routine. Just do 5 minutes of movement. If you need to have a difficult conversation, don't rehearse it endlessly in your head. Just send a message to set up the meeting. If you're stuck in a creative rut, don't wait for inspiration. Just write one sentence, draw one line, take one photo. The key is to break the cycle of overthinking by proving to yourself that you can act. One of the most powerful ways to overcome overthinking is to adopt a bias toward action. This means training yourself to take immediate small steps whenever you start to feel stuck. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes. But if you can shift your default response from thinking to doing, you gain control over your mind. You build a habit of movement instead of hesitation. This doesn't mean acting recklessly or without thought. It means recognizing when thinking has turned into avoidance and choosing to move forward instead. The truth is, clarity comes from engagement, not just contemplation. You won't figure out the best path by sitting still. You'll figure it out by walking it. The more you do, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more confident you become. And as confidence grows, overthinking loses its grip on you. Every time you take action, despite uncertainty, you prove to yourself that you are capable. You show yourself that fear doesn't have to stop you, that you don't need all the answers to begin, that movement is always within your control. Think about the most successful and fulfilled people you know. They are not the ones who waited for everything to be perfect before they started. They are the ones who took a step, adjusted, and kept moving. They understand that action is the cure for doubt. It doesn't mean they never had fear. It means they refused to let fear keep them frozen. Every time you take action, you strengthen your ability to handle uncertainty. You realize that you don't need permission to start. You don't need to wait for motivation. You just need to take one step, right now. When you choose action over overthinking, you take back your power. You stop being a passive observer in your own life and become an active participant. You break free from the limitations of your mind and step into possibility. The greatest changes come from simple decisions, the decision to move forward, to try, to do something instead of nothing. And the more you practice this, the easier it becomes. Overthinking loses its hold. Fear shrinks. Progress accelerates, and you begin to see that everything you want is on the other side of action. Progress isn't always about big leaps. It's about small, consistent wins that build momentum over time. When people set out to achieve something, whether it's a personal goal, a career move, or a lifestyle change, they often focus on the big picture. They imagine the final result, the major transformation, the finish line. But what really drives success isn't just the destination. It's the small steps taken along the way. Small wins, when acknowledged and celebrated, create the motivation to keep going. They shift the focus from how far you have left to go to how much progress you've already made. Momentum is powerful. The hardest part of any journey is often just getting started. When you take even the smallest step forward and recognize that progress, it becomes easier to take the next step. If you celebrate a small victory, you send a message to your brain. This is working, keep going. That encouragement fuels motivation. And motivation, once in motion, is much easier to maintain than it is to create from scratch. Too often people dismiss small wins because they seem insignificant compared to the big goal. If someone wants to lose weight, they might think, I've only lost 1 pound. It's nothing. If someone is building a business, they might think, I only made 1 sale, that's not enough. But that mindset is a trap. That 1 pound, that 1 sale, that 1 step is proof that progress is happening. And progress, no matter how small, compounds over time. The real mistake isn't moving slowly, it's failing to recognize the movement at all. When people focus only on the end goal and ignore the progress they're making, they lose motivation. The journey feels too long, too difficult, and too far out of reach. But when they acknowledge every little step, they build confidence. That confidence leads to more action. More action leads to more progress, and before they know it, they've created unstoppable momentum. Think about learning a new skill. If someone wants to learn a language, they might get frustrated because they're not fluent yet. But fluency doesn't happen overnight. Fluency doesn't happen overnight. It happens through small victories, learning 10 new words, successfully ordering a coffee in that language, understanding a simple sentence. Each of these moments matters. If they take time to celebrate those small wins instead of obsessing over the final goal, they'll stay motivated to keep learning. The same applies to anything in life. If a person is trying to exercise more, getting to the gym once a week is a small win. This is a small win. If they want to improve their mental health, taking 5 minutes to meditate is a small win. If they're trying to save money, setting aside even a few dollars is a small win. None of these things seem life-changing on their own, but added up over time, they create a powerful shift. And we create a powerful shift. Celebrating small wins doesn't mean throwing a party every time you make progress. It simply means acknowledging that you're moving forward. That can be as simple as taking a moment to say, "I did that," writing down progress in a journal, or rewarding yourself in a small way. The act of recognizing these moments reinforces positive behavior. It turns hard work into a habit, and habits are what led to lasting success. Momentum isn't something that appears out of nowhere. It's built, little by little, by stacking small wins on top of each other. The key is to keep moving, even when progress feels slow. A snowball rolling down a hill starts small, but as it keeps moving, it grows. The same is true with progress. If you keep taking small steps and celebrating each one, you will eventually look back and realize just how far you've come. The secret to staying motivated is not waiting for a huge breakthrough. It's training yourself to recognize and appreciate progress as it happens. Because when you learn to value the small wins, you create the momentum that leads to big success. Your brain is always listening. Every thought you think, every word you say, every belief you hold, your brain absorbs it all and turns it into reality. The way you talk to yourself shapes your actions, your confidence, and your entire outlook on life. If you constantly tell yourself that you're not good enough, that you'll never succeed, or that you're stuck where you are, your brain will believe it. And once your brain believes it, you start living it. You hesitate, you hold back, and you sabotage your own progress. But the opposite is also true. If you tell yourself that you are strong, capable, and resilient, your brain will believe that too. It will find ways to prove those words right, pushing you forward instead of holding you back. Many people don't realize just how powerful their inner dialogue is. They repeat negative thoughts without even questioning them, as if those thoughts are facts. "I'm not smart enough." "I'm too old to start over." "I always mess things up." These words may feel small, but they create deep patterns in the brain. The more you repeat them, the more your brain accepts them as truth, reinforcing behaviors that align with those beliefs. If you believe you always fail, you will hesitate to try. If you believe you're not good enough, you won't take opportunities that could change your life. Your brain will find ways to confirm what you tell it, whether that belief helps you or hurts you. The good news is that just as negative thoughts can hold you back, positive words can push you forward. When you start telling yourself a new story, your brain will adapt. If you say, "I am strong," you start acting with strength. If you say, "I can figure this out," your brain starts looking for solutions instead of dwelling on problems. If you say, "I am resilient," you begin to handle challenges with a mindset of growth rather than defeat. Words shape beliefs, and beliefs shape actions. Think about a time when you felt unstoppable. Maybe you accomplished something you never thought you could, or you overcame a challenge that once seemed impossible. In that moment, what were you telling yourself? You were probably saying things like, "I can do this," or "I've got this." That internal dialogue gave you the fuel to push through. Now imagine if you spoke to yourself that way all the time. Imagine if, instead of tearing yourself down, you built yourself up with words of encouragement. And it's not about ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing the story you tell yourself. Challenges will come, failures will happen, and self-doubt will creep in. But the way you respond to those moments determines your path forward. Instead of saying, "I'll never get through this," say, "This is tough, but I am tougher." Instead of saying, "I always fail," say, "Every failure is teaching me something valuable." Instead of saying, "I don't know how," say, "I'm learning." These small shifts in language change everything. They turn obstacles into opportunities and setbacks into stepping stones. Some people might think this is just positive thinking, but it's more than that. It's science. Your brain is wired to look for patterns and confirmation. When you repeatedly tell yourself something, your brain starts filtering reality to match that belief. If you constantly say, "I'm unlucky," your brain will focus on every unfortunate event and ignore the good things that happen. But if you start saying, "Good things happen for me," your brain will begin noticing those moments. This is called the reticular activating system, a network in the brain that filters what you notice based on what you focus on. If you change your words, you change your focus. And when you change your focus, you change your experience. This doesn't mean you'll never struggle. It doesn't mean you'll never have doubts. But it does mean you have control over the way you talk to yourself through those struggles. You can choose to be your own biggest cheerleader instead of your own worst critic. You can choose to speak words of strength instead of words of defeat. And over time, your brain will adapt to that new way of thinking, making confidence and resilience your natural state. One of the best ways to reinforce this is through daily affirmations. It might feel strange at first, but saying things like, "I am capable, I am strong, I can handle whatever comes my way," programs your brain for success. The more you repeat these messages, the more they become ingrained in your mind. And once your mind accepts them, they become your reality. The key is consistency. Just as negative self-talk can wear you down over time, positive self-talk can build you up. It also helps to be mindful of the words you use in everyday life. Notice how often you say things like, "I'm so stupid, I can't do this," or "I'm not good at that." These phrases might seem harmless, but they reinforce limiting beliefs. Try replacing them with empowering language. Instead of "I'm bad at this," say "I'm getting better at this." Instead of "I'll never figure this out," say "I'm working on figuring this out." These small changes have a big impact. Your brain is always listening. It believes what you tell it. So choose words that build you up. Choose words that push you forward. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love. Because when you change your words, you change your mindset. And when you change your mindset, you change your life. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools for shifting your mindset. It has the ability to completely transform the way you experience life. Not because it changes your circumstances, but because it changes your focus. The human brain is naturally wired to look for problems. It scans for what's wrong, what's missing, and what could go wrong. This is a survival mechanism. Our ancestors needed to be hyper-aware of dangers to stay alive. But in today's world, this tendency to focus on the negative often leads to stress, anxiety, and dissatisfaction. The good news is that you can train your brain to focus on what's working instead of what's missing. And gratitude is the key to doing that. When you make gratitude a habit, you begin to see the world differently. Instead of waking up and immediately thinking about everything you don't have, you start noticing the things you do have. Instead of dwelling on what's wrong, you begin appreciating what's right. This shift in perspective isn't just about feeling good in the moment. It has real, lasting effects on your mental and emotional well-being. Studies have shown that practicing gratitude consistently can rewire the brain, increasing levels of happiness, reducing stress, and even improving physical health. One of the biggest misconceptions about gratitude is that it's only for people who have everything figured out. People think, "I'll be grateful when I have more money. I'll be grateful when I have my dream job. I'll be grateful when life is easier." But gratitude isn't about waiting for perfect conditions. It's about recognizing the good in this moment, no matter what's going on. What's going on? Even in difficult times, there's always something to be grateful for. It could be as simple as a warm cup of coffee in the morning, a supportive friend, or the fact that you woke up today with another chance to move forward. When you train yourself to focus on these small blessings, your entire outlook shifts. Challenges don't disappear, but they become easier to handle because you're not only seeing the struggles, you're also seeing the good. A grateful mind is a resilient mind. When things go wrong, instead of spiraling into negativity, you start looking for what you can appreciate in the situation. Maybe a setback is teaching you patience. Maybe a failure is guiding you toward a better path. Maybe a difficult time is revealing the strength you didn't know you had. Gratitude helps you see these hidden gifts, even in the toughest moments. Another powerful thing about gratitude is that it breaks the cycle of comparison. One of the biggest sources of unhappiness is looking at what others have and feeling like you're falling behind. Social media makes this even worse, constantly bombarding people with highlight reels of perfect vacations, perfect relationships, and perfect careers. It's easy to focus on what you don't have when you're always measuring yourself against someone else's life. But gratitude pulls you out of that trap. When you focus on what's working in your own life, you stop obsessing over what others have. You realize that your journey is yours alone, and that there is so much to appreciate about where you are right now. Gratitude also creates momentum. The more you focus on the good, the more good you notice. It's like adjusting a camera lens. When you zoom in on something, everything else fades into the background. If you're constantly focused on problems, your brain will keep finding them. Swivel you. But if you're focused on blessings, your brain will start seeing more of them. This doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It simply means choosing to direct your attention toward what's working, instead of what's missing. And when you do that, you naturally feel more motivated, more optimistic, and more in control of your life. One of the simplest ways to practice gratitude is to start a daily gratitude habit. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just take a few moments every day to write down or think about 3 things you're grateful for. Some days, these might be big things, like achieving a goal or receiving good news. Other days, they might be small things, like the sound of rain or a kind word from a stranger. What matters is that you make it a habit. Over time, this practice trains your brain to look for the positive automatically. Another way to cultivate gratitude is to express it to others. When was the last time you told someone you appreciated them? A simple thank you or a heartfelt message can not only make someone else's day, but also strengthen your own sense of gratitude. The more you acknowledge the good in others, the more you recognize the good in your own life. Gratitude is a practice, not just a feeling. It's a choice you make every single day to focus on abundance rather than lack, on progress rather than setbacks, on what's going right instead of what's going wrong. And the more you choose gratitude, the more it rewires your mindset, helping you navigate life with a sense of joy, resilience, and peace. Life is rarely black and white. It's not just good or bad, happy or sad, easy or hard. More often than not, opposing emotions exist at the same time. Fear and joy can live in the same moment. You can be going through one of the most challenging times in your life and still find reasons to smile. You can be uncertain about the future, but still experience gratitude for the present. Hard times don't erase joy, and joy doesn't mean you're ignoring the hard times. They coexist, and recognizing that can help you navigate difficulties without losing yourself to them. And when people go through struggles, whether it's loss, financial stress, health issues, or any other challenge, they often feel like happiness is out of reach. There's this idea that if things aren't perfect, if life isn't easy, then joy has to wait. But that's not true. Even in the hardest moments, there are still glimpses of light. A deep conversation with a friend, a favorite song playing unexpectedly, a sunset that catches you off guard. These small moments of joy don't cancel out the struggle. But they offer a reminder that life still holds beauty, even when things feel heavy. Fear and uncertainty are natural in difficult times. When you don't know what's next or when you're dealing with something painful, it's easy to get consumed by worry. But that doesn't mean joy is impossible. It just means you have to be intentional about allowing it in. Sometimes people feel guilty for experiencing happiness when they're struggling, as if they're not supposed to smile or laugh when things are hard. But joy isn't disrespecting the struggle. It's giving you the strength to get through it. Allowing yourself to feel moments of happiness, even in tough times, is not a betrayal of your pain. It's a way to keep moving forward. Think about a time when you were going through something difficult, but still found yourself laughing at a joke or feeling comforted by a kind gesture. Sure, that joy didn't erase your hardship, but for a moment it reminded you that life isn't only pain. Those moments matter. They don't have to be big or life-changing. Sometimes they're as simple as a deep breath, a warm cup of coffee, or the sound of rain. The more you allow yourself to notice these moments, the more you realize that happiness isn't something you have to wait for. It's something you can find, even in the midst of challenges. This doesn't mean pretending everything is okay when it's not. It doesn't mean forcing yourself to be positive when you're struggling. It simply means making space for both emotions. Fear can sit next to gratitude. Sadness can exist alongside laughter. Struggle doesn't erase joy, and joy doesn't mean the struggle isn't real. The more you accept that both can exist together, the more resilient you become. You stop waiting for a perfect moment to feel happy and start recognizing that happiness can be found in the imperfections of life. Hard times will come. That's part of being human. That's part of being human. But they don't have to steal every moment of joy. The key is to stay open, to allow yourself to feel both the fear and the joy, to recognize that they don't cancel each other out. Life isn't about choosing one or the other. It's about learning to carry them both and still move forward. Life is never just one thing. It's joy and fear, struggle and progress, loss and gratitude, all existing together. Hard times will come, but they don't have to define you. Small wins build momentum. Action defeats overthinking, and the words you tell yourself shape your reality. Gratitude shifts your focus, and happiness is always within reach, even in the toughest moments. You don't have to wait for perfect circumstances to feel joy. You can choose it now, even alongside the challenges. Because resilience isn't about avoiding hardship, it's about finding light within it and moving forward, one step at a time. Happiness isn't some big, distant goal. It's not something you get later. It's found in the small moments you choose today, right now, in this moment. So let me ask you, what's one thing, one tiny thing, that you can do today that brings you joy? Go do that. Because even in hard times, happiness is always within reach. You just have to grab it. Thank you.